Standout UK basically offers an opportunity for the serious investor to achieve an annual rate of return of at least 10%. It can be 12%, it can be 13%. In some cases, it can even be in excess of 15% annual rate of return. Now, I don't know about you, but I sometimes look back with nostalgia to the days when banks were able to offer over 10% interest on savings accounts. Seems like another century, doesn't it? Well, actually, it was another century, of course, but I think it's fair to say that those days are unlikely to come back. So in the meantime, what do you do if you would like this kind of rate of return on investment? Well, one answer has traditionally been the buy-to-let market, and that does work, but only up to a point. If you were to take, for example, the buy-to-let market in London, you have a problem. Whether it's Dagenham in the east, or Richmond in the west, or any point in between, you're essentially stuck with a rate of return between 4 to 6%. There are very few exceptions to this. So if you would like a substantially higher rate of return, what do you do? Basically, the answer is property conversion, which is what we do. The planning consultants and architects that we use have many years of experience, and that's particularly important in London because planning regulations can differ substantially from one area to another area. Planning regulations can even change substantially from one year to the next. It's basically a minefield. So you have to keep on top of regulations in order to make sure that any conversion work you do conforms fully with what is legally required. Choosing the right builders is also extremely important. After all, you don't want to end up with cowboy builders, do you? The builders that we use have the proper qualifications and accreditation, and most importantly, they have a lot of experience in doing precisely this kind of conversion work. Let me give an example of a recent development that Standout UK did in Abbey Wood in South London. Now you may say, why Abbey Wood? Well, the fact is that most areas in London are incapable of delivering a 10% annual rate of return. Nowhere near 10%, in fact. Once we'd identified Abbey Wood as an exception, we spent a long time looking for suitable properties in the area. And eventually, we found one for £225,000. Of course, a few years ago, that would have seemed outlandishly expensive. But let's not forget that at the moment, that is actually less than half the average property value in London. We carried out major building work to the property, including an extension to the rear. The final cost to the client, including building work, ended up as £305,000. But the benefit is he is now in possession of a development of 5 studio flats, which bring in an annual rate of return on investment of 12%. We do 2 different kinds of property conversions. The first kind, as in the example I just gave from Abbey Wood, is where we find the property for the client. The second kind is where the client already has a buy-to-let property. To give an example, somebody recently came to us with a buy-to-let property in Muswell Hill, producing an annual rental income of £25,000. We advise him he can do a lot better than that. We explained to the client how property conversion works. We employed a team of specialist builders to convert the property into studio flats, and the final cost of conversion was £58,000. But the benefit to the client is that now he's getting an annual rental income of £61,000. Before it was £25,000. So it's literally more than double. Demand for studio flats in London is higher than it's ever been. And that's because a typical studio flat in London goes for a minimum of £200 a week. So most people can't afford to live anywhere else. And that's why now the best time to invest in this market.